Number of passionately made statements and also arguments as well. The reaction of the people to Hong Kong, to what Sir Geoffrey has had to say. But it is not just a matter for the Hong Kong and the British government. It's a question also for the British people as well. Do we accept the government's view, or are we impressed by the case from Hong Kong? The audience we've invited here is a cross-section of the British population, selected for us by the opinion pollsters Mori. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to hear some of your reactions to what you've heard. And I'm going to go to you more or less at random. So what is your view?
Well, I don't think they should come here.
I beg your pardon?
I don't think they should be allowed here.
Why do you say that after what you've heard?
Because how can we house them? Where are they going to live?
Well, how do we house them? Where do they live? So your view?
I've asked quite a few people today when I knew I was coming on this program. And one was a man from Hong Kong, a Mr. Chang. And I said to him, do you think it's right for 3.5 million people to come into this country? And he straight away said no. The reason he said no, not because he doesn't like his own countrymen. We had a big discussion about this, and it was, where are you going to put them? I worked out that 3.5 million beds, 6 feet long and 6 foot the other way, so you've got a space to get out, will occupy 4 square miles.
Thank you, sir. I'll go up to the back there, if I could. Gentleman in the back row, about 5 in. Yes,
yes, my initial view was that we should honour it's a British passport. However, I agree with Sir Geoffrey that once you give them the right, the thought of 3.25 million people coming into this country horrifies me.
What about the thought that was also put from Hong Kong, that one of the consequences of giving the right will make it much less likely that people will need to exercise the insurance policy, and we're not really dealing with a Gadarene rush of 3.5 million people?
It's a hypothetical at that point. You can't take the chance.
So, your view? Just below.
Of course we should honour our obligation. Of course we should. And with regards to insurance, this country makes a great deal of money out of insurance.
Why do you not find yourself responsive to the sorts of point the gentleman down here was making about the numbers? We simply can't absorb the numbers.
A British passport is a British passport, however it's couched. It's an obligation.
Sir, next door.
Yes, I would agree with the man next door to me. I think that the time is, we have enough time to plan for it to happen. It's 5 years away, or whatever it is, more than that. We need to get things moving now. It becomes a European issue as well, because those people, if they have the right to come here, have the right to go within the EEC as well. And we need to ask our European partners how they can help plan for it as well.
Madam down here, just in the front.
Well, I think it's our duty to do something. We should find an alternative.
Should find
an alternative. There has to be another way.
Yes, the gentleman at the back with the red tie and the green and white shirt.
Yes, I find it absolutely deplorable listening to some of the comments made. I believe the situation is akin to what the Jews faced in Germany circa 1934. And I believe it is up to the international community to internationalize the situation.
To internationalise the situation. You want the British government to deal either through the UN or the EC and America to try and get a conglomerate of countries prepared to give the guarantee. Is that what you're suggesting?
Either to give the guarantees of exit, or either, like we've done with Taiwan, a military guarantee.
Thank you. Madam, down here, what's your view?
No, I don't think they should be allowed in. It's far too small an island, and it would be a terrible burden on the taxpayer.
Are there other views similar to that here? Yes, gentleman immediately behind.
I think that it is an inescapable moral obligation, and as for the favourable future negotiated for Hong Kong, I'd like to ask Sir Geoffrey what he thought that Jardine Matheson thought of it.
Can you expand on that thought? What do you think Jardine Matheson thought of it?
Well, I think they thought they had no future in Hong Kong once it ceased to be a British colony.
Now, the question was raised by Sir Geoffrey about flexibility, about extending somewhat the constraints of the Nationality Act in order to increase the numbers that would come in, although by his own account only by a small proportion. Any views on that particular thing? Sir, down here.
I wouldn't let any of them come in. If they got the money, they stay where they are. Because to bring all that over it's going to cost millions of pounds. What about food, schools, housing? Nobody's thought of that. Where are they going to live?
There's the gentleman with the blue and white sweater on.
I'm sorry, I believe we have a moral obligation. I don't see that we can afford to take Sir Geoffrey's view, which to some extent he's a prisoner of his own extreme right-wing immigration policies. We have a duty to honour the Hong Kong citizens. I don't think it's going to cause too much problem. Last year, only 800 came to Britain, 11,000 went to Canada. I think this nation can cope with it. I think the problems are being exaggerated.
Thank you. The lady at the back with the blonde hair and red dress.
I think it's not so much a matter of honour as a matter of practicality. And it doesn't seem to be very practical, but I rather agree with the gentleman next to me that there could be an international assessment of the situation and maybe an international solution.
But that might...
Because they want more a right of exit, I would have thought, than a right of entry.
What about if there isn't that option? Do you believe then that that isn't some kind of cop-out? If the international community says, sorry, your problem, Sir Geoffrey.
Importing misery is not a solution, and I think that there would be big problems having so many people immigrate.
Gentleman down here at the front. Yes.
I'd love to, you know, invite them people over here because we know what's going on over there, like people being killed. But has anybody stopped to think of the amount of people who are homeless in this country now? And you're trying to bring in more people who's going to make it a lot worse than what it is now.
What would your reaction to the point that was made repeatedly there, that if the debt, if you like, as they would see it, is not honoured, then down the road we could be witnessing on our television screens, as we've been witnessing, similar things happening, but to those people who at the moment have the right to that British passport?
I mean, personally myself, I would love to see us hand over to the UN. So it would be an old... Everybody could take some of them and help them out, because I don't think there's too many of them to come into this country, and we're not going to be able to help anyone, and it's not up to us to choose the ones who come into this country.
Is there anyone else who wants to add something to what's been said here? Yes, the lady is second, no, not sir, the lady who's got red lipstick on, second row down. Madam.
I mean, I think it's fine for the British to say hurrah, hurrah, rule Britannia and go marching off across the world and having battles and gaining countries. They do have an obligation to people who have lived under the British rule, so to speak. They look to England as the mother country, and I think it's quite easy for England to say that we can't cope with the racial problems already, but it's the people within England who have to accept other people who they have taken under their wing in the past.
Gentleman just behind you on the left.
As I see it, with this very difficult situation in China, I think my advice to the Hong Kong people would be run like this. I think they'd be very much better off to stay put, because I think China is actually under dictatorship at the moment, you know. And I would say to the Hong Kong people that stay put until China stabilizes a democratic government.
Got the
and
point,
even
sir.
then,
I've got the point, sir, and I think you clearly expressed it, and I'm going to ask you to pause there because I want to now move to ask you all, as you do.